Livability concepts for development of urban built environment, case of Sri Lanka. This is the presentation of paper submitted to International Conference on Industrial Engineering and Operations Management. This research work was funded by the Senate Research Committee of University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. This is the paper outline, introduction, literature review, methodology, data analysis and discussion, livability indicators identified based on livability characteristics, conclusion. Introduction. Globally, urban development has been limited to improvements in the built environment. Similarly, in Sri Lanka, compromise of the natural environment and inability to respond to real-life expectations of inhabitants have rested rigorous urban sprawl in a debatable position. Therefore, need for a multidisciplinary approach towards urban development was identified when implementing new development projects. A robust environment with affordable amenities, accessibility to services, and environmentally sustainable community is recognized as a livable city. Thus, livability is selected as a common platform to analyze this need because livability is the short-term suspense of inhabitants of cities of Sri Lanka, especially Colombo. Literature review. Challenges related to urban development. Cities in Asian region deals with land scarcity, urban sprawl, population growth and housing scarcity. Uncontrolled and unplanned development causes traffic congestion, crimes, limited access to resources and issues in waste management. Therefore, citizens have no choice but to live in a highly dense, high-rise and high-intensified cities, even though their expectation is a pleasant, livable city. Therefore, urgent need to identify the desired living conditions of inhabitants is highly significant for urban development. Some of the main challenges related to urban development are listed in the following slides. Rush for metropolitanization. Accordingly, Elia and Roberts in 2015 instated urban development in Asian countries are more towards metropolitanization. Therefore, this is a need to provide infrastructure for public goods and services. Economics of scale achieved through metropolitanization accelerate engineering advancement and global amalgamation of a city. However, when metropolitanization happens at a rate synchronizing infrastructure and industry expansion, ecological conservation and community service provisions have been recognized as a challenge. Therefore, characteristics of livability that defines metropolitanization should be streamlined via proper urban planning. Lack of urban housing. A major issue dealt along with urban development is urban housing. On the contrary, there is an urgent need to manage available land for activities related to business, leisure, and public services other than allocating for urban housing. Gaps in business governance and related infrastructure. Narrowing development and infrastructure investment gaps needs prompt expansion of private sector investment and redistribution of this investment from emission-intensive assets to low-emission and robust infrastructure. Inability to align investment with physical infrastructure have direct impacts on business governance, therefore impacting the profitability of the investors. Consequently, prevailing business governance decides the attraction of the potential investors, of facilitating infrastructure and livability of the community are main concern of small and medium enterprises which are prospering around the urban areas. Threat to sense of security and occurrence of crimes. Intensity of industrial, commercial and domestic built environment of major cities has amplified local inequalities, staining habitats, and worsened the challenges of city disparities and social disturbance. Along with that, occurrence of crimes and breaches of public security have increased. Public parks, pedestrian crossings, Public transport stops and empty commercial spaces are backdrops where there is high possibility of manifestation of illegal activities. Robberies, sexual offences, violence, vandalism, alcohol consumption, and drug dealing are among recurrent illicit activities around urban environment. Therefore, when addressing these issues with a view to increase livability of inhabitants, livability characteristics need to be incorporated in urban built environment planning. Concept of livability. Livability is a concept with multivalent meanings. Generally, if a place is inhabited, it is livable. Nonetheless, when considering urban livability, the use of word livability represents notions to improve habitat to the desired level of inhabitants. Defining livability. As a response to upgrading quality of life, livability concepts may utilize. Kashef in 2016 have emphasized the importance of livability concept to reshape building environment considering socio-economic values. Shabnasad et al. In 2019 instead, assessment criteria of livability depends on inhabitants' personality, culture, traditions, and expectations. Gap et al. In 2014, on the other hand, proclaimed that livability is a place-based concept generally refers to the elements of home, neighborhood, or city that contributes to quality of lives and well-being. In the same way, Valcastle Arguello et al. In 2018 identifies livability characteristic as a set of attributes of physical, social, environmental characteristics of a specific urban area once improved will have a positive impact on residents' quality of life, yet without compromising the city's future. Together, this literature established the elements of livability, such as alignment of actual and desired habitat, place-based attribute, quality of lives, and dependence upon culture, tradition, and expectations. Therefore, based on the identified element of livability, a working definition is adopted as the consistency of the desired and actual habitats which reflect the quality of life in terms of the social, economic, and environmental characteristics. Multidisciplinary approach towards development of urban built environment through livability. The literature collectively elaborates a clear gap between the practicality of the continuous urban development and the livability outlooks of the inhabitants of the development. Therefore, this paper comprehends the characteristics that make cities more livable. Through that, the gap between insensible urban development and livability expectations of inhabitants is a bridge. Design of the methodology. The research question addressed characteristics that make cities livable. Therefore, philosophical stance of the study is positioned at social constructivism because it facilitates understanding realities built by individuals of different backgrounds and reconstituting to include in a scientific realism. A study follows a deductive approach because a scientific realism of livability is obtained through deducing the views of stakeholders. This table denotes the expert areas of proficiency and the experience in the relevant areas. They are involved in urban planning projects in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Therefore, they have explicit exposure to the sentiments of pertinent stakeholders. Interviews are administered by providing a brief introduction to the concept of livability and followed by a questionnaire in semi-structured interview guideline. Initially, 5 respondents from architecture, civil engineering, sociology, town and country planning were selected. However, another 3 respondents from ecology, economics, and healthcare sectors also interviewed until the collected data is saturated. They have worked in major urban development projects in Colombo. Therefore, they have the level of expertise and the involvement with the society which make them eligible to represent the views of the community. Data analysis and discussion. Challenges due to urban development. Expert view on the effects of urbanization are broadly categorized as direct and indirect effects. The direct effects of urbanization are impaired air and water quality, imbalanced temperature, and precipitation. The expert in disaster resilience specifically emphasize the difficulty to prevent floods, since the waterways are obstructed by unrestricted construction and land improvements. Furthermore, the genetic and the biological diversity is threatened in the city of Colombo. The indirect effects involve uneven distribution of job and business opportunities. Administration buildings and business head offices are clustered in inner city. If the jobs are highly commented, only available in Colombo. Therefore, the need to commute daily to the city is present. The experts point out aforementioned reason as an influential factor to many indirect issues. Traffic congestion, the health effects such as depression, obesity, respiratory issues, the social polarization, crime rates, increment, the business governance is challenged, difficulty to manage recreational activity, and the price of housing increases. Livability characteristics. Based on the expert interviews, six main livability characteristics have been identified: land use, housing and planning, socio-economic aspects, environment and character of the city, quality and availability of services, quality and the proximity to the local level services. The connectivity to amenities and location-based attributes are those livability characteristics. These are the livability indicators identified based on the livability characteristics. As a conclusion, the significant factors in terms of livability that add value to the expansion of urban built environment are identified based on the opinion of expert interviews. Characteristics such as socio-economic aspects, environment and character of city promote sustainability, while characteristics such as inclusiveness through connectivity, services and other infrastructure represent resilience of the community. Therefore, combining livability concepts with urban built environment indirectly promotes sustainability and resilience of the city in the long term. Accordingly, rather than carrying out constructions in urban areas with sole profitability view, the overall livability of the area highly persuasive to make the construction effective. The proper balance of the development in the cities with public parks, housing, services ranging from water supply and electricity supply to schools and recreational area is the key for the success of the business investments in the city. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much. You can ask whatever the questions you have in the below comment section.